Positively Muskegon, it's Andy O'Reilly at the Folkert Community Hub once again with Dave Kortering. He is one of the candidates for Probate Judge here in Muskegon. This is a full field of candidates for the Probate Judge. Yeah. I've spent pretty much this whole week talking to probate candidates, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's important to get to know these people and find out what their agenda is, why they want to serve, and what motivates them to be part of the action in Muskegon. You have been at this for a long time, and you have seen both sides of the aisle when it comes to defense. And talk about your career.
Going back a ways. Where does time go? It flies when you're having fun, right?
Right.
Just turned 50 this year, so that's a big milestone. I actually went to the eye doctor today, and my eye doctor said I got the eyes of a 25-year-old, so that's good. I got that going for me. So that maybe I can get some votes for that. I'll at least see things clearly.
There you go.
I graduated from Muskegon High School. I'm a Big Red. Shout out to Big Red Nation.
Very cool.
I graduated in 1984. I played baseball and football there. Definitely a big supporter for the Big Red Athletic Foundation. I'm on their board. Recently been put on the board there, and we had a fundraiser last week for the Athletic Foundation. Worked out really well.
Golf thing, right?
Yep, the golf outing. Yep.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of support through the Big Red Athletic Foundation and the alumni from Muskegon Big Reds. Proud to support them. From Muskegon, I went to Hope College.
Okay.
Hope College in Holland, Michigan. Graduated in '88 with a bachelor's degree in physics. And I know people like physics. How do you go from physics to law? Well, a lot of people know my father, Vern Kortering.
Yeah.
I was kind of drawn to the field of law.
Sure.
And one thing about science and physics and engineering, you spend a lot of time in the lab.
Yeah.
So I think as I was graduating from Hope College and spent a lot of time doing the research, I had an opportunity to do some graduate level research through Hope College, that I was able to see that spending a lot of time in the lab wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm more of a people person, more like my father, and get out and about. And I did work about for 6.5 years before I finished law school. I worked in for the state of Michigan Department of Public Health.
Okay.
Public Health. I was a health physicist. So I basically went around using my physics background to do X-ray compliance testing. Hospitals, dentist's office, veterinarians, we have X-ray equipment. Michigan was one of the first states to do American College of Radiology quality assurance testing on mammography equipment. It was back in the early 90s, and so I did have a good hand in that as far as being a pioneer in that area. But I went to law school at night as I was working for the state of Michigan.
I have a lot of lawyers that I've talked to that are running for judge or running for whatever they are. They squeeze this in at night. Is that something with the job? Is that something? I mean, that's a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how I couldn't do it now.
Right.
Of course, when I did that back then, I was in my 20s. There were times where I worked a full day and then going to law school at night, and then I also played rugby, and I still don't know how I fit that in too. So it was a good outlet to play rugby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I fit it all in then, and I graduated at the law review cum laude from Cooley Law School, and I had a chance to work in the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
And I think my dad, even being a lawyer here in Muskegon, wouldn't push me one way or the other, but I mean, that was a hard decision. Stay in Lansing, work with the Attorney General's office, or come back to Muskegon and work with my father. Yeah. And obviously, the right choice I picked was coming back to Muskegon. Started working with my father, come back to where my roots are, and learn the practice of law from my father. What better way to do that?
Was it a good working relationship?
Vern Kortering was a pioneer and a maverick in the field of law, and the working relationship, it was tough at times. I think, because of course he's always going to look at me as a son, and he was a great mentor. Sometimes not the greatest teacher, but a great mentor. Sometimes just to watch him, work.
Yeah.
But I started out doing Social Security, disability, and workers' comp, which is what he did. He was a big labor law attorney. And I started out in that area of law, working with my father, and then in 1998, I came to his office in 97, graduated, passed the bar in 96, came to Muskegon in 97, and in 98, I took a contract with the Muskegon County court system for doing court-appointed work in family court, child neglect and abuse.
Which kind of brings you to the probate thing.
Which has brought me into the family court. And that's something my dad never was into. It was just something I wanted to do to keep busy, something I had an opportunity to take over a contract. Actually, I think it was Ron Panucci, former Supreme Court Judge, Attorney Ron Panucci. It was his old contract. He was giving it up, and I had done some work for another attorney down the hall by the name of John Patotsky, who was now a judge in Colorado. He had me fill in and do some of his work, so I got a taste of it, and then I started filling in, and then took over that Ron Panucci's contract in 98, and I held that contract until they disbanded those contracts, basically 96. I'm sorry, 2000, date myself here. It was 2014.
Okay,
is when
yeah.
when they had the public defender's office came in and they
Yeah.
restructured those contracts.
Yep.
So there really are no public defender contracts. We do some conflict work, but those child neglect and abuse cases, you know, that the way they were handled on a contract basis, and for many years. And I had that for from '98 until 2014. I still do work as
Sure.
a conflict attorney.
Sure.
I also handle some of the felony conflict work through the public defender's office. So, you know, I still have that hand in public service. So, I mean, really, my public service history started from
Way back
my
when.
work. You know,
Yeah.
Department of Public Health. I was a
Yeah.
civil servant doing compliance testing until now. I mean, I still take public defender cases and you know, whatever they can assign me. And
Sure.
I don't shy away from the tough cases.
Not at all.
Tough cases they call, I don't say no. I take them.
Yeah.
And I think my dad did. You know, my dad did too. A lot of people know my dad took on a lot of tough cases, took on a lot of tough causes, and I guess I'm a bit of a chip off the old block.
As we move forward closer to the primary and all that stuff, there's going to be some reshuffling in the courts. Something I've learned a little bit about as we've gone on. I don't know that John Q. Public really understands all the shifts, but talk about the shifts that will come as a probate judge. What are the big changes?
And they announced this, if you look back at MLive, they announced this about 6 days before the candidates had to file their candidacy on April 19th.
Yeah.
They announced it. I think it ran in the paper just less than a week prior to that. They're going to do some shifting, which they can. But their Judge Mullally seat, which is the open probate court seat, he was full-time probate court judge, and then he handled the business court docket,
Okay.
which the state court administrator's office said every county has to have a business court, and he volunteered to do that. That's going to be shifted to Judge Hicks.
Okay.
So this business court docket, from what I hear and read, is going to be shifted to Judge Hicks, and his probate docket is going to be shifted to Judge Hoekstra,
Okay.
who used to be the probate court registrar
Yep.
or administrator. So it makes sense. And then basically, they're going to shift a lot of the family court docket from Judge Hoekstra and from Judge Smedley to judge this open probate seat.
Okay.
It'll basically mimic what Judge Pittman has right now.
Okay.
Judge Pittman's a
All right.
probate court
Yep.
judge, but his emphasis is on family court.
Is this a good thing for the Muskegon courts?
Yeah, it's good because you'll have some continuity for family court. You're going to have, right now, there's 3 judges that do family court, Judge Hoekstra, Judge Pittman, and Judge Smedley. When they shift this back, it'll kind of go how they used to have it.
Okay.
There'll actually be 4, but the lion's share of the family court cases will be Judge Pittman and the new seat. The probably anywhere between 35 to 40% will be of the family court cases will be the new seat.
Okay.
Wants this open seat for Judge Mullally's open seat, and then the other 35 to 40% is Judge Pittman. So between the two, they'll have 75% of the family court docket. Judge Smedley will still share maybe 25%, and Judge Hoekstra will still share 25%.
What is it about you that makes you stand out? I mean, because there's a lot of candidates. Tell me what makes you stand out.
Well, the obviously experience, my experience with the family court, especially in that child welfare system.
Sure.
This docket, which a lot of people don't know, because a lot of times the general public doesn't know about the child neglect or abuse cases. They read sometimes the extreme cases you see in the paper.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them. There's a lot of filings. There's probably over 800 kids that are involved in the child welfare system at any one time in Muskegon County. Obviously, they're not all removed. Some remain with parents, some go to relatives, some go to foster care. But 2 weeks out of the month in that docket, that seat's going to be dealing with those child welfare cases. And then there's also going to be juvenile delinquency cases, which I also have experience in. Been handling juvenile delinquency cases. That was part of that family court contract that I had since '98. So,
Yep.
so those cases which you don't really know a whole lot, you don't read a whole lot. People don't really see them out, talk about them in public. You know, it's like
Well, it's
nails on chalkboard type thing.
Well, it's one of those things that's really kind of nobody else's business. You know what I
No.
mean? You know, everybody's got to stick their nose into everything
Oh, yeah.
now. So good. I'm glad that's a little quieter.
Right.
You know, we don't need to hear
As long
more
as
of
someone's
that.
handling it, that's all I care about.
Right.
But and it does take a special kind of attorney, and in this case, a special kind of judge to be able to handle those cases, because they're
Sure.
tough cases. You got to make some tough decisions. And day in and day out, decisions need to be made. There's obviously the Department of Health and Human Services that are in charge. They're the agency in charge, the state agency in charge of dealing with the child welfare system, and then they subcontract out to private agencies like Bethany, Catholic Social Services,
Sure.
Child and Family Services, and Lutheran Christian Services that handle the foster care part of it. But those are decisions that need to be made on a daily basis. Actually, the law states every 90 days you have to have a court hearing, what they call dispositional review hearings, to determine what's in the best interest of these children.
Sure.
And you're constantly balancing the rights of the parents to have those children and determine how those children are raised.
Tough stuff.
And the rights of the state to intervene when there's some type of abuse or neglect, and either remove those children or come in and provide services.
Sure.
And that's a fairly intensive part of what this job is going to be.
Yeah.
And I have obviously the experience with all those years, and I've had tremendous what I call on-the-job training. On-the-job training with being with those cases, and as well as my retained cases in divorce, custody, child support, parenting time, in front of all the family court judges in Muskegon County. I appeared in front of Judge Pittman, Judge Mullally, Judge Marietti, Judge Ruck before he retired. Now the newer two judges, Hoekstra and Smedley, I appear in front of. So I've had a lot of on-the-job training in those cases over the years, and I think that makes me definitely qualified for that job.
Definitely qualified. You're coming around, you're knocking on doors, you get your 30 seconds to present your card.
Yeah,
Which hey, just got in the mail.
Right,
They just came today. Look at that.
Yeah,
Give me your quick speech as we wrap things up a little bit about why I should vote for Kortering.
Well, I tossed around 3 campaign slogans. One I used before in 2002 was Kortering Cares.
Yep.
Another one, Kortering, a name you can trust. And then the last one that I've gone with is Kortering, helping thousands of families since 1998. I think those 3 slogans, so to speak, describe me to a T. One, I care about this community, care about children, care about the litigants that come in, parties that would come in front of me. I'm definitely a listener. I'm definitely going to be compassionate about people coming in to get their day in court. I'm going to take the time to make those decisions, and obviously if it's something I need to research, I will research it. I've got that history with physics, so I know how to study.
Physics fascinates
sure.
me. You know what? I don't understand much of it, but I'll sit there and watch shows about it
Oh, yeah.
all night long just to feel smart.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
it
wow.
fascinated me a lifetime ago. It fascinated me, but
That's
now,
awesome.
now law. I just emptied out all the physics information and
Right.
filled it all with law. But in the second part of what I was talking about, Kortering, a name you can trust. People know my father, Vern
Sure.
Kortering. He was a maverick in this community. He helped. We're talking more than thousands of families in this community, tens of thousands.
Sure.
People he helped in this community, carrying on that legacy. My father passed away a little bit over a year and a half
I'm
ago.
sorry.
Miss him every day. I would need his advice right now, but I think he's still looking out for me up above.
You never get rid of your parents. You
Oh,
know?
no.
Whenever somebody loses, and I haven't done it yet. I haven't lost a parent yet, but my word of people is that to people that lose a parent is that, you know what? You are them.
Oh yeah.
Because that's where you came from.
Every time I look in the mirror now that
Ain't that the
50,
truth? I'm right behind you, man.
I look
and
more and more like him every day, and I start to sound like him, and I
know
think
it.
the hand gestures and everything. So,
I got the same thing going on, man.
and then I think
know.
the last thing, helping thousands of families since 1998, that kind of embodies my experience, why I'm qualified for this job, what I would give this community on the bench, and so I think those 3 things, I know probably a little bit over 30 seconds here, but
Yeah.
you condense it down to those 3 things, and I think those slogans that I struggle with embody what my campaign is going to be about.
Yeah, those are tough to come up with, aren't they? I know.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know. Dave Kortering, thanks for coming in, man.
I appreciate
I
your time.
it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All you do. Wish you the best in the campaign. All the links will be right here on Positively Muskegon. You can follow Dave on Facebook
Yes.
and keep the information coming in as you get closer. And the important thing is get out and vote. I think every candidate
August
knows.
2nd, it'll probably be like today, sunny, 80, 85
Perfect.
degrees. Remember, put it on your calendar now.
Whatever
Vote.
you want. Wear whatever you want. Just get out and vote, right?
Exactly.
Dave Kortering on Positively Muskegon. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate it.